your guy Hez, Toronto Talk Sports and more, back at you with some NBA talk, specifically our hometown Toronto Raptors, who just last Friday, September the 11th, they fell 92-87 to the Boston Celtics in game number 7, the decisive game of their second round playoff matchup. Joining me to discuss this and more, we have Shelly Dhingra, our very own Shelly D of She Loves the Raptors on Instagram. What's going on, Shells?
Hey, everyone.
Hey. And our neighbor down south, all the way from Orlando, Florida, Mr. Seby B of Seby's podcast. What's going on, brother?
Doing well, present.
My man. So listen, guys, let's get right to it. Shelly, let's start with you. Once again, huge Raptor fan. You know, she loves the Raptors, all that good stuff. Please tell us, Shelly, what went wrong in the series for the Toronto Raptors? Obviously, they didn't meet their expectations. They were favored initially going into the series, obviously being the top seed. They were favored in certain other areas, particularly when it comes to depth and size. But for whatever reason, it seems like the Celtics were always in control of the series. And the Raptors, obviously, you know, they were able to force a Game 7, but they weren't able to finish it off. What do you make of the series and possibly, what went wrong for your Toronto Raptors?
Well, you know, the Toronto Raptors, they fought hard. I think the obvious is the fact that Siakam didn't play at his potential, at best his minimum. Just offensively, he was just not making his shots. He wasn't ball handling, tons of turnovers. I think we depended on Pascal and heavily, we depended on him heavily, and we really focused our energy on him making his plays. And I think Boston caught on to that very early on in the series, kept him away from the basket, really punished him on the court. And I think that's what really hit us hard. We really needed him to play at his best, and it just didn't happen. Gasol, also, you know, it was a bit of a sad story watching him on the court. As hard as he plays and as great of a player as he is, I mean, he wasn't knocking down his shots, and I expected a lot more from his performance. And I know that it seemed as Nick Nurse had a lot more confidence in those players than they actually produced on the court. So I think those were our two biggest issues. Everyone else seemed to be able to play their game. I mean, you can't even question Kyle's performance. Boston obviously had a stronger handle on the game and were able to produce. There was a couple of times, and I know Seby and I have talked about this, where they lost their leads. They lost control of the game, and the Raptors took advantage of it. But at the end of it, in Game 7, which we were able to push through, you know, they came out as the better team between the two of them.
Now, Seby, before I get you in on this, because I actually want you to speak more on the side of the Celtics, I just want to kind of, follow up on one thing that Shelly mentioned. You did bring up Nick Nurse. How much accountability should be there from your perspective as a fan, Shelly, on coaching? Because obviously there was a lot of chatter after the series ended. Once again, back to a guy like Serge Ibaka. I think it was early in the series, could have been possibly Game 2 or 3, where he shot, 2 of 13 from behind the arc. I mean, at what point, from a coaching perspective, do you pull your guy aside, either bench him or kind of wring his neck and tell him to stop shooting from the outside, drive it to the, take the ball to the bucket and, pound the paint?
I think he had the same problem with Gasol too. Yeah, I think it was the same issue with Gasol between the two of them. And as a coach, when it comes to the playoffs, you're depending on your top 6-7 players to really pull off the win, right? And I think that's the mentality every coach goes in with, is that we're going to make sure our starters are fresh, and they're going to be the ones that are going to produce the highest number of points on the game. And I think that Nick Nurse has spent enough time with all these guys to know what their potential is and what their ability and their strengths are on the court. And I don't think he ever lost that confidence in them. Although we were starting to see it, they were starting to feel it. I believe as a coach, your job is to make sure your players are working as hard as they can to do what it is that they do best. And his confidence in them was obviously his priority, and giving them the opportunity to be the players that he expects them to be, that they expect to be, and to show the world that they're able to do so. Unfortunately, just like in any type of, and I always compare it to creative people. Creative people have creative blocks, and they're not able to push through those artistic moments when they're not able to produce what it is that they're looking for. And I think athletes experience the same thing, where they get into these mental blocks and they're not able to get over that hump so that they can do what they can. It's not a question of whether they can do it. We've seen them do it. It was just something that that needed to be worked out for them to be able to continue doing what they do best. And I think that's where a coach comes in and tries their best to motivate them and push them through and over that hump.
And no excuses, but of course he is still a new coach. A lot of people forget. Yes, he did win a championship in his first year as head coach, and the next year, which is this season, he was named coach of the year. So certainly, his resume is, kind of stacking up there early in his coaching career. But let's not forget, he still is a young coach, when you look at the grand scheme of things. Seby, let's throw it over to you. And before I kind of get you to chime in, just for a little bit of context, not only is Seby's podcast a very, very close affiliate of Toronto Talk Sports and More, but my man Seby B is a very, very close personal friend of mine. Him and I, we chat, we talk all the time, sports, things outside of sports, this and that. But one thing I definitely want to give you credit for, Seby, you called it from the very beginning. You predicted it. And before I share that, I'll go on record because I can admit when I'm wrong. Before the series started, I actually had the audacity, yes, ladies and gentlemen, to predict the Raptors would beat the Celtics in 5. How dumb do I look now? That was my prediction. My man Seb predicted it to the T. He said Celtics in 7. That was your prediction. You stuck to it. Boston Celtics in 7. You're a huge Celtics fan, so congratulations. Talk to us, man. What went right? What worked for your Boston Celtics?
Right. Well, if I had a knife and I stabbed myself, you see green coming out of my blood, you'd be like, is this man an alien or something? But no. I looked at it from a fan perspective, but I also looked at it from an analyst or a correspondent's perspective as well. And I just thought that, what worried me coming into the series was the depth of the Toronto Raptors, because I knew defensively it was going to come down to defense. I was worried about Norman Powell, guys like Terrence Davis and Ibaka off the bench who tormented us from 3 and stuff. But kind of like just to piggyback on what Shelly said, I thought the difference maker was we have guys and we have personnels that we can throw at a guy like Pascal Siakam. Something I don't think Siakam was prepared for. He didn't really have a team that can switch 1 through 5 and that can pick him up on all pick and rolls and actually dare him to shoot from above the arc or take away his paint presence where he literally dominates inside. I think another thing as well is the Raptors were number 1 in the league in transition buckets, and Boston did a very good job coming back on defense and setting their half-court sets and making the Raptors beat them and methodically work their offense on a half-court set. And that was a struggle for them. I thought that Boston had a chance because I knew that our top-heavy guys like Tatum, Brown, and obviously Kemba Walker had the advantage because of scoring. But what worried me was the bench. And I was kind of intrigued that Nick Nurse didn't play his bench more. But I think that was because I think Brad Stevens in his hand forced him to play that way. And we didn't see the likes of Boucher a little bit more. I thought his athleticism and versatility with his length could have helped out, and players like that. So, my boys got it done.
They sure did. And once again, brother, congratulations. A very entertaining series. I mean, win, lose, or draw. Well, it won't be a draw, but win or lose, Toronto Raptors are still certainly holding their heads high all in all, it was a successful season for the most part. I mean, you look back even to the regular season before, the breakage in play with the pandemic and all of the injuries and, that the Raptors went through, the various different lineups and whatnot. There was that one game, I know, Shelly, you'll certainly recall it. Was it the Dallas Mavericks? I believe it was on a Sunday where the Raptors overcame a 30-point deficit. You remember that, Shells?
Oh, yeah. I can't forget it.
Absolutely. So, no, all in all, listen, coming off a championship year, all of the uncertainty this year with the injuries and the stoppage of play, then the NBA bubble, and just all that went into all that. But, hey, the Celtics, they did what they had to do. Props to them. They got it done. Guys, moving forward, of course, heading into the offseason, which will be coming up shortly, what do you see? And Shelly, I'll just kind of throw this to you as far as, the future of the Toronto Raptors. We do have a number of, free agents on the team, namely Fred VanVleet, I believe Marc Gasol, and, of course, Serge Ibaka. And, word around town is that Fred VanVleet is, going to get paid and that the Raptors are willing to, pay him, big dollars to, retain his services. In all likelihood, I'm sure we would all agree, Marc Gasol seems to possibly be the odd man out. Who knows what happens with Serge? Who knows if there's possibly a trade in the mix? You can never count out Masai Ujiri from, pulling off some magic and doing something completely unexpected. But as a diehard Raptor fan, Shells, what are you personally looking to see from your Toronto Raptors going into next season?
I think this season will be fairly consistent. It's next season that I'm really curious to see what that trade season's going to look like.
Sure.
I have full faith in Masai, in Bobby Webster, and Nick Nurse in making those decisions, and I'm pretty sure whatever deals they need to get done will get done. Fred VanVleet, they're not going to miss that opportunity. He will get paid. I'm quite certain of it. With Gasol, I'm not confident that he will be here next season. And if he is, it might be another one-year contract. So we'll see what happens with Gasol. Ibaka, I think we should keep Ibaka, but it depends. If there's a trade package opportunity, he might be in it. I couldn't say until we know what that trade season looks like in 2021. And with Kyle, I really think Kyle's going to finish off in Toronto one way or another. They're going to give him his 1 or 2 year contracts at a time and let him retire as a Raptor. And I think that's the right thing to do. He deserves it. The city wants to see it. The country wants to see it. And he will be a legacy here going forward. But until then, I think we won't see too much of a shakeup for next season. But the following season, I think we might see some dramatic changes. Knowing that people like Giannis is available in the market, and then Kawhi's contract will be up the following year. So, I don't know, Giannis and Kawhi, it's not impossible.
Oh boy, are we going there, Shelly?
But it would be the ideal scenario for me. But again, just knowing what the trade season looks like and the availability of players, and who might retire, who might not. That's something we need to think about. I think Gasol's 35 now, so he might have another year or two left in him, maybe. And Kyle's 34, going on 35, so that's something else to consider long term. So we'll see. We'll see what happens.
I just want to throw this out there because obviously, people are going to be talking about Fred VanVleet and Pascal Siakam and, what they'll do with Lowry, not this offseason, but possibly the following offseason. I look at a guy like Spicy P, Pascal Siakam, and if you look at the last 3-4 years, every single year he has improved. So obviously he didn't have a great series against Boston, to say the least. But I look for him to take this as a learning opportunity. I look for him to hit the gym in the offseason. And I think he's going to come back even bigger, even better, even more prepared, more dominant to possibly really take on that number one role. I think he does certainly have it in him. And hopefully for the sake of Toronto Raptors and their fans that, he will come back as a beast and use this experience, as motivation. And he'll be, something to contend with.
Absolutely, yeah. Pascal, but I'm not worried about Pascal. I think Pascal is part of the development process. It's part of the growth. And I'm not, I'm not trying to make excuses, but we've seen it with players throughout the league. They go through ups and downs. It's like any type of development in anything that you do. It's a pendulum, right? One day you're hot, the next day you're not, and you work through it and you get to where you need to be. I think Pascal, I agree with you. I think Pascal will come back even better than he is today. And all our players are still young. I mean, I think Gasol and Kyle are the oldest players on our team. Everyone is still in their 20s. We still have a lot of room for growth.
Absolutely, for sure. So, guys, before we officially wind down, at the time of this recording, Wednesday, September 16th, we are in the midst of the conference finals. The Eastern Conference Finals, of course, got underway yesterday, Tuesday the 15th. And unfortunately, your Boston Celtics, Seby, they didn't get off to the start that they wanted to in the series. Very, very entertaining game. Went to OT, of course, and they fell to the Miami Heat, who are now, guys, 9-1 in these NBA playoffs. The Miami Heat are 9-1. Unbelievable basketball. They're well coached. Obviously, Jimmy Butler leading the charge there, but they're deep and they're getting contributions all over. So just real quick as we wind down, we will talk about the Western Conference matchup in a second, but let's just quickly share our predictions. I'll throw it to you, Seby. What do you see for the remainder of the series? Who wins? How many games? What's your prediction, Eastern Conference Finals?
Yesterday was bittersweet. I thought that Boston, blew one. They had a 12-point lead heading into the fourth quarter, and they couldn't close it out. That's been a telling story throughout these postseason. They've had big leads since, the Raptors series and not unable to close them out. And we saw that the Raptors pushed it to 7 games. I don't think we can make that same mistake because this Miami team will capitalize on those mistakes, and not only capitalize on them, they'll be sending us home packing real quick. So I think game 2, we look at it as a must win. I think if you go down 0-2, you have to win the next 4 of the 5. That's unrealistically against a Pat Riley team. So we blew one in game 1, but I have confidence in my Celtics to win this. I said in 6, but now it's going to have to be 7. I think when you look at the history of the Boston Celtics, you go back to the 60s, you always had a top 3. You had Bob Cousy, Bill Russell, and you had Dennis Johnson. You go back to the 80s, you had Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, Robert Parrish. You go back to the big 3 of Garnett, Pearson, Allen. I think our big 3 now of Brown, Tatum, and Kemba will be the difference maker in this series. Just to kind of give you a timeline of our overall history. So, this is going to be really huge. Jimmy Butler and Bam Adebayo are going to be a problem. They're locked in and focused. But I do think the Boston Celtics will prevail. I just think that the X factor for us is Kemba Walker, and he has to get going. He has to get going fast.
For sure. All I got to say is this. Do not let guys like Tyler Hero and Duncan Robinson shoot the ball late in the game. These young guys have no fear whatsoever. They make huge shots all the time. It's very scary. Miami's a very, very good team. But good prediction, Seby. I can't argue much with that, man.
Yeah. I mean, they're second in the NBA in three-point percentage. So I'm not too worried about that. I think Boston is number 1 against the 3. In the playoffs, they're only giving up like a crazy 25% or something like that. So game 1 was uncharacteristic. I don't expect that to continue in the playoffs. But you just never know. The Heat offense is very complex. They do a lot of screening, a lot of down screening. Reminds me of the Golden State offense a lot. So the way that they move off ball, backdoor screens, it's beautiful basketball. So we've got our work cut out for us, for sure.
Absolutely. Shelly, let's throw it to you. Eastern Conference Finals. Once again, unfortunately, the Toronto Raptors aren't there. I don't know if you're necessarily cheering for any of these 2 teams, but based on your prediction, who do you like coming out of the East to represent the East in the NBA Finals ultimately? Who you got?
Well, I still do think Boston's going to come out of the East. I think they just came out of a Game 7 series, and they ran out of steam. That's just what it was. I think Miami just had the benefit of taking advantage of a tired team. They had a strong lead, and like Seby said, they blew it in the end. But I still think they're the better team. I still think they have better players and performers on their team. And like Marcus Smart is he's just fire. Like this guy can make a shot from anywhere in that entire stadium. It doesn't matter. So I think in the end of it, I still think Boston's going to take the series. Jimmy Butler is back to Jimmy Butler, and he's doing his thing, and Hero as well. Like Hero surprised me. I mean, the entire playoff series, he's just made a name for himself. It's fantastic what he's doing. But with Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, Kemba Walker, and Marcus Smart, I still think Boston's going to take it in 6.
For sure. So, guys, real quick.
I say 6. He said 7. I say 6. I still think once they get themselves together and they recover from this long stretch, they'll get it done. And they're young guys, so I'm not too concerned.
I gotta say, yeah, Celtics in 7, but they have to win game 2. I really don't see, Miami losing 4 out of 5. So I just think that's a little bit too much of a gap there. I like Boston to win in 7 games, but it won't be easy. 2 very, very well coached teams, 2 teams that play well on both sides of the ball. So it could go either way. Nothing would surprise me, but I think we're all on the same page picking Boston. Listen, guys, if we had more time, we would talk in depth, in full, about the historical collapse of the Los Angeles Clippers, who were supposed to have a predestined date with my Los Angeles Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. That's not going to happen, and perhaps we'll save that talk for another time. We're winding down here. But real quick, the Western Conference Finals will consist of the Denver Nuggets. Yes, folks, the Denver Nuggets against the Los Angeles Lakers. So let's just throw it out there, guys. Predictions real quick. That series gets underway this Friday, the 18th of September. Seby, to you, my man, who do you like?
Zion, beware. Beware, Zion. Beware.
What?
Gosh, I don't have the guts to say that the Denver Nuggets are going to win, but I do think they're going to push this. And I say 6 games. I think they're going to push this 6 games. I've got the Lakers winning in 6. I just think that when you have 2 of the top 5 best players in the world, Adrian and LeBron, that's a tall task for any young team that hasn't been in familiar territory like this to be able to beat them. I think it's going to take a Herculean effort from Murray, Jokic, and others to step up to do that. But can I see this, 2-2, and then after 4 games, and then potentially Lakers wrapping this up? Yeah, potentially. Can I see this going 7 games as well? Definitely. These comeback kids from the Mile High, they don't give up. They really don't give up. They take the personality of their head coach and Michael Malone, just gritty, hard-nosed, blue-collar. These guys just don't give up, and no lead is safe against them. So I think that they have in their minds that we've been down before, we've been down this road before, and they're playing with house money. So why not? They're the underdogs here. I just think that LeBron James and Anthony Davis, it comes expectations when you wear that purple and gold, and I think they'll deliver and they'll make it to the finals.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. Shelly D, what do you say, dear?
Well, you know my feelings. So, I am definitely going to be rooting for the Nuggets because, we have to support our Canadian guy. So, I'm going to say the Nuggets really surprised us, okay? They beat the Clippers. It happened. So, I'm going to say the Nuggets in 7.
What? Hold on. Rewind, back up. What?
Yes. I think they're gonna push for a 7th game series.
Hold on, you're actually predicting that the Nuggets will beat the Lakers and go to the.
I'm hoping more than I'm predicting.
No, we're not talking about hoping. This is a prediction.
I'm gonna say the Nuggets in 7.
This is on video right now, Shannon. I want to be able to put this against you. Who is your prediction? Who are you predicting will win? Forget about what you want to happen. What is your prediction? That's what we're discussing here. If you want to pick Denver, by all means. But
I'm picking Denver.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
I was not expecting that, ladies and gentlemen, but listen.
Hey, I would like that.
Guys, let me just say this. on Toronto Talk Sports and More, everybody, and I mean everybody, is entitled to be wrong. On that note, Shelly, I got that is not happening. I'm with you, Sebs. I've predicted the Lakers would win their past 2 series in 6 games, and to my surprise, they won them both in 5. They seem to have this thing where they like to lose game 1 and then, run the table after the fact. I just hope that the Lakers don't go up in the series 3 games to 1, because we know what happens to the Denver Nuggets. Something sparks in them whenever they're down 3-1. But in all seriousness, I can't see the Lakers losing this series. As you said, Sebs, with 2 of the top 5 players in the game, the way that we defend, I think that's what it'll come down to. And don't get me wrong, I think Denver Nuggets, they've proven to this point, once again, beating Utah the way they did and the Clippers, that they're a better defensive team than we gave them credit for. Because we always knew what they can do on offense. But let's just be honest, guys, they're not even in the same hemisphere as the Los Angeles Lakers when it comes to defense. And we know how well the Lakers play on offense as well, especially with Rondo back, having another playmaker, taking the pressure off of LeBron. We've seen what Rondo did in a few games there in the last series against the Rockets. So I don't expect it to be like a really close series, but I think Denver is talented enough that they could win a couple of games. I don't see it being a situation, Sebs, where it'll be 2-2 and then we're going to kind of grind it out and have a best-of-3 series. I see the Lakers kind of taking command and taking control. And, hey, who knows? Maybe they will go up 3-1, and then Denver will be like, hey, we've been here before. Let's do it again. Let's make magic. But I just don't see it happening. No shade, no disrespect to the Nuggets. They fought well to get here so far. But this is the Los Angeles Lakers, and we'll all soon be witnesses. So, guys, we'll leave it there. Thank you for your predictions, and we'll come back to this. This is all on tape, so we'll come back to this, and we'll see who was right, who was wrong, and we'll rub it in during that time. Is that fair, Shells?
Sounds good to me.
Guys, before we wind down, I'll begin with you, Seby. Just remind our audience where they can check you out and your content on social media and online, man.
Yes, the Seby Podcast Media Company. You guys can find us on sebypodcast.info. That is our webpage from the latest sports, news, and interviews, and also on all social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, as well as our social media handle, Seby Podcast.
Excellent, excellent. And how about you, Shelly?
Well, you can find us at She Loves the Raptors, supporting your female fan base.
Absolutely, and that's on IG, Instagram, and on Twitter as well, right?
Yeah, on Twitter, it's She Loves the Raps.
Excellent. She Loves the Raps on Twitter. She Loves the Raptors on IG. Guys, thank you so much. A lot of fun. Everybody, do enjoy the conference finals, both in the East and in the West. Basketball has been excellent in the bubble. Props to everyone involved that made this. I mean, we didn't know what to expect.
Some love for my city,
Exactly, yeah, your city of Orlando. And I know, Seby, you share quite a bit of content online, and even with me personally, because you have gotten exclusive access in the bubble, so we certainly appreciate, that in-depth look of exactly what's been going on behind the scenes. But I was just going to say, Adam Silver and the NBA have done a phenomenal job of the competition has been great. There's been upsets. The games have been it's been amazing. The playoffs have been great. So who knows what to expect? And even though I think that Shelly made a very bold and just kind of crazy prediction, I'll say this. Hey, Shelly, you never know. Stranger things have happened.
One of the best playoff series in a long time. So
yeah, I mean, listen.
I'm enjoying it.
Everyone thought that the Clippers were going, at very least to the conference finals, and look what happened there. So, hey, this is the NBA where anything can happen. It's a lot of fun, and as fans, we all love it. We all love to be entertained by, good, entertaining basketball. So we'll see what happens. Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. I'm Zion Hezekiah, and you're tuned in to Toronto Talk Sports and more.
Thank you for watching. Please click the like button and leave us a comment with your feedback. And don't forget to subscribe with notifications to see more engaging and interactive content. Toronto Talk Sports and more, for the love of the six. Let's connect.